Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. Yes, I am staying in a house that is carpeted. Maybe there's a rug that you can use as your yoga mat. I just don't want you on a surface that's too hard or too slippery. The other props that I have that I highly recommend are a couple of yoga blocks. You could use 2 thick books as a substitute. And I have a folded blanket, a beach towel, a thick bath towel. This is literally the throw blanket from my couch. All of those will work just fine. We'll start today in Tadasana, in mountain pose. Pardon me for the fancy Sanskrit, but it is the bedrock of all of our poses. Let's be hip distance, parallel with our feet, a little soft bend in our knees. And then turn your palms away from each other. Let that originate at your shoulder joint. And let's stop here so that we can start. We want to stop our fidget, distractions, even judgment if we can help it, and start to really pay attention to our breath and to this moment. Moment to moment. 3 moments of silence to land. Bring your hands onto your hips, and once your hands are on your hips, stand on your left leg and extend your right leg out in front of you. Feel with your hands on your hips that when I ask you to turn your leg out, that happens at your hip joint. So your toes are going to face over towards your right. And then turn your toes up and turn them out again. And we want to be responsible for that left hip hugging in at the same time. So we're just going to go back and forth and feel this rotation at our hip joint. And now make it a kickstand with that same dancing a jig feeling happening in your right hip. We stay sturdy in our left hip. And it's possible that some of us will take our right foot into our shin. You can always go to the wall or use the arm of your sofa for some added balance. Maybe you even venture that right foot into your left inner thigh. And then we can take our arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. That helps with our balance. But anytime you want to turn your hands to nerd out a little bit with me on what's happening in your right hip and in your left hip, great. Perhaps you take your arms in a V shape. You spread your branches, but we need deep roots for our trees before we spread our branches too wide. 3 moments here. Hands on your hips, turn your right knee forward, step down with your feet hip distance, turn your palms away from each other, stand in your mountain. And from our mountain, we will grow another tree. But first, let's let our recipe consist of what happens in our bodies. So standing on our right leg now, hands on your hips, left leg out in front of you, toes face up. Let that leg turn out. Enjoy that it's happening from your hip joint. And we'll go back and forth, just feeling the evidence of where we want this movement to happen and where we want the sturdiness in our right hip to be true. And then turn it out and make it a kickstand with your left toes on the ground. Let's tend to our tree trunk. Option to take your left foot to the inside of your right shin, or even to take your left foot to the inside of your right inner thigh, and then we might choose to grow our branches. Maybe even into a V shape with our thumbs to the sky. We have 3 moments here. Hands on your hips, turn your left leg forward, step down hip distance, and then step wide on your mat. As we do this, let's also, in the spirit of mindfulness, arrange our props so that they are at the ready. Take your 2 blocks, maybe those are thick books, turn them tall and put them off the long edge of your mat. So not right underfoot, but off the long edge, and then turn to the opposite long edge and give yourself a wide stance. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. We aim our ankles underneath our wrists here, and that's a starting point. Think about when we danced our jig a little bit, the way that we constructed that tree pose, and let that happen in your right hip. You could even take your right hand onto your hip, turn your right leg out, so you feel evidence of where we want the movement to happen, and then cheat your left heel back at a 45-degree angle. When we bend our front knee, if we notice our knee is forward of our ankle, we just need to scooch a little bit more room into our pose, and then dynamically straighten your front leg and V-shape your arms overhead. Imagine that your inhale, and then exhale and bend your front knee into the Warrior Two stance. Let's go back and forth. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale. Let's stay as we exhale with our arms outstretched, and we're dancing a jig in our right hip just like we learned from our tree pose. In fact, this, if you use your imagination, this right leg looks like tree pose, but in a weight-bearing, slightly different situation. 3 moments to meditate on that here. And then we'll straighten our front leg and lower our arms. Turn all toes to face the long edge of your mat. Turn your left leg out so that your left foot now is facing the short edge of your mat, and cheat your right heel at that 45-degree angle. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Our spacing should be fine, left over from last time. Let's be dynamic and straighten our front leg, V-shape. Exhale, bend your front knee and reach your arms. Back and forth we go, inhaling and exhaling. Noting that it is now our left leg that seems to be doing that dancing of a jig tree pose. Next time you bend your front knee, settle into your Warrior Two and feel evidence of movement in our left hip and stability in our right hip. Let's get quiet and still. Meditate on our warrior stance for 3 moments. And then lower your arms and straighten that front leg. Turn all toes to face the long edge of your mat. The design is similar, turning our right leg out as if dancing a jig, cheating our left heel at a 45-degree angle, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Now our front leg is straight but not locked, and it's very important that we don't side bend in this pose. So I want you to think of uplifting your left hip, and like a karate chop is happening in this right hip. Reach out as far as you can, and then find your tall block and put that outside your right foot. If you don't happen to have that, you can carefully place your hand on your thigh, but I don't want you to push into hyperextension, so push your thigh a little bit against your hand at the same time. Our thumb is to the sky. We might turn that thumb down and gently rest the back of our left hand to the small of our back if your arm gets tired, or that just feels like the place to go. And then we'll meditate on this version of our tree pose and dancing a jig with a sweet little hamstring stretch in it too. 3 moments. Now to come out of it, let's re-bend our right knee, firm through our belly, take the prop off the side of your mat, come through the Warrior Two we did before, lower your arms and straighten your front leg, turn all your toes to face that long edge of your mat, and we'll slowly grow our other side. Left leg turns out as if dancing our jig again. Right heel cheats back, arms out to the side. We're careful with that front leg so it's not locked into joints. It's interesting and muscular. We're not side bending. We hinge and reach way out with our left hand. Our right hip is lifting a little bit as we go. And then it could be that you find the top of your thigh. I'm hoping maybe you've got something that's a block. I like that idea, but it's not terrible to have your hand on your thigh. Just be careful not to push hyperextension into it. Maybe left thumb down and back of your right hand to the small of your back. We're growing tall through our spine even at this angle every time we inhale, and rotating our left ribs towards the sky as we dance a jig in a new situation. 3 more moments together here. And bend your front knee, look down. Move your block off the side of your mat, come through Warrior 2, and then slowly straighten your front leg and turn all toes to face the long edge of your mat. We're adding a new friend, but some of us will just take triangle a second round, which is perfection. Turn your right leg out to dance a jig. Cheat your left heel back at a 45-degree angle. Arms out to the side. This is familiar so far. We lift that left hip and lengthen out into our triangle pose. Right hand on your block, left arm up to the sky. Now, if you're amongst my friends who didn't use a block, just stay put. If you have a block and this sounds like fun, take your left hand onto your hip. Look down and move your block a foot out in front of your right pinky toe and float your triangle on one leg, which will require you to find that action in your right hip that we had to find in our tree pose, but now so that we can anchor our balance. Step carefully back to triangle, where some of us are awaiting. Bend your front knee, move your prop, come through Warrior 2, and then straighten your front leg, lower your arms, turn all toes to face the long edge of your mat. Let's try that on our second side. Left leg turns out, so your left foot is facing the short edge of your mat. Right heel at a 45-degree angle, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. We hinge at our left hip, our right hip is gonna lift. We take our hand onto our block, so left hand on your block. Take your right hand onto your hip. If you're staying put, stay put. Your left hand, your block, will go a foot out in front of your left pinky toe, and then we balance and maybe take our right arm up to the sky. A couple of fun little moments here. Breath and balance. Right hand on your hip, step it back into your triangle pose where our friends are waiting for us. Then rebend your left knee, move your prop off the side, Warrior 2 on the way out, and then straighten your front leg and turn all of your toes to face the long edge of your mat. We will heel toe, till we're hip distance, and then wander to the front edge of our mat. Feet hip distance and parallel. Inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands to your thighs or maybe to your shins or ankles, but keep the length in your spine. Inhale, uplift your heart. I slide my hands up my legs as I do that. Exhale, fold back in. Let's just inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then stand in our mountain, palms face out. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to thighs or shins or ankles. Inhale, elevate your heart, and then bend your knees so deeply that your palms can go flat on the ground. And we step to our first down dog today. A wide stance is suggested, recommended. Push the ground away with your hands so there's no collapse into your shoulders, and really feel a hook in your tailbone that is lifting your hips away from your head. I'm high on my tiptoes. I tend to stay there so that I can keep the priority of length in my spine. And then we'll empty out and walk our feet to our hands hip distance. Inhale, hands slide up your shins, ankles, thighs. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Keep the length in your spine as you fold. Inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, V shape, and then pause, palms face out. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to thighs or shins or ankles. Inhale, slide your hands up and uplift your heart. And then bend your knees deeply enough that you can put your palms flat on the ground for down dog, pushing the ground away, finding that hook in your tailbone. Inhale to plank, shoulders over wrists. Keep pushing the ground away as you carefully lower your knees to your mat. Shift a little forward, firm through your belly as we lower all the way down onto our bellies. And then Sphinx pose, forearms on the ground, parallel to the long edges of your mat. Power up your legs by pressing the tops of your feet into your mat until your kneecaps come off your mat. And then traction your elbows towards you so it feels like you're bringing your heart through the gateway of your arms. Lower down, place your hands next to your ribs and curl your toes under. Come to all fours. And from all fours to down dog, remember the hook in your tailbone. Push the ground away with your hands. Empty out and walk your feet to your hands, hip distance parallel. Inhale, uplift your heart and slide your hands up. Exhale, hinge at your hips and keep the length in your spine as you fold. And then inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, a V. And we'll stand in our mountain, palms face out. Let's flow that one time. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to thighs, shins or ankles. Inhale, uplift your heart. Bend your knees so your palms go flat for your down dog. Step your feet wide, lift your hips high. And then inhale to plank, shoulders over wrists. Knees gently lower to your mat. And then we lower to our bellies with our elbows brushing against our ribs as we go. You can either put your forearms down for Sphinx like we did together, or keep your hands where they are for your cobra, pressing into the tops of your feet. Lower down and curl your toes under to come through all fours. And then make your way to down dog. From down dog, we walk forward. Our feet come to our hands and they are hip distance. Inhale, slide your hands up as you uplift your heart. And then exhale, hinge at your hips, folding in. Inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then we stand into our mountain. Standing in our mountain, we will explore a different articulation at our hips. So our tree pose is something called an external rotation. Our hips are kind of amazing. They move in all different ways. This next one is extension at the hip. So if I turn sideways and I take my right leg back, that's extension at the hip. And this is what's called flexion when we bring our knees into our chest, which is something we do a lot, especially when we sit all day long. So let's use this extension at the hip pose that we're about to do as a little bit of a counter pose for the way in which we maybe use our hips during the day. Maybe you take your left hand onto a wall or the arm of your chair or couch, but let's stand on our left leg and now kick yourself in the butt with your right foot and reach for it. If it's hard to get, you can use a kitchen towel to lasso it, and we'll hold the pinky toe side of it. And then just play with it. Let this be playful. I'm going to scoot so that you see me more readily. You can kick your leg back. And I like to take my arm to the sky or out in front of me unless I've got it on a chair for balance, which apparently I don't have right now. But this is all fun, silly good fun. That's our story and we're sticking to it. So King Dancer pose with our right leg extending behind us. And then firm your belly carefully, stand back down, hip distance into our mountain. We'll stand on our right leg and then maybe lasso or find our left foot. And then arm out in front of you to the sky on your assist for balance. Start to kick your left leg out. Feel the extension happening at the front of that left hip. And breathe for a moment, learning about our bodies a little bit. 2 moments. And then gently release left foot hip distance from right. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs or shins or ankles. Inhale, uplift your heart, bend your knees deeply enough that your palms go flat on the ground for downward facing dog. And once you're in down dog, pushing the ground away, lift your right leg back behind you and step that right foot forward. Oftentimes it requires that we help it along, no worries. Then gently lower your left knee onto your mat. And I think for a number of us, that's going to call in a folded blanket for padding. So you can just slide that underneath your left knee. And at first, a block might be a very nice thing to have. Left hand down, right arm up, and we take a little bit of a twist. Here's what I'd like you to explore, to play with. Curl your right toes back towards you, and think about letting that knee drop out to the side a little bit like we did with our tree pose, but I don't want that to hurt your right knee. So you want to get active, curling the toes back, and just see where your body likes to go. But that is that first articulation at the hip that we did, and then just note that your left hip is in extension, like when we did our holding the foot stance just a moment ago. Now you can keep this knee a little out to the side unless you're getting feedback that your right knee is unhappy. And then reach back with your right hand, just like we did with the same hand. We'll now kick ourselves in the butt with our left heel and reach back to see if we can find that foot. And many of us are not going to find that foot. That's fine. I'm letting my knee drop out to the side because so far I'm letting my right thigh fall out to the side. So far, I am not getting feedback that my right knee is upset. And I sure am feeling a stretch in the front of my left thigh. You? 3 silent moments together as we stretch here. Now gently let go of that back foot and turn your right toes to face straight forward. They may have turned out to the side for that last thing that we did. You might want to collect your 2 blocks and place them on either side of your right leg. Straighten your right leg and curl your toes out. I just a moment ago gave you the demonstration of flexion and extension. So now we have flexion as we stretch our right hamstring, and extension continuing in our left leg. And there's no quiz after this, don't worry. It's just kind of cool to know all the different things that our hip can do. We'll stay here for 3 moments. Lengthening our spine as we inhale, hinging and stretching into that right hamstring as we exhale. Now bend your right knee. Move your blocks off to the 2 sides of your mat. Palms flat, we step to down dog. You can just leave your padding where it is if it's helpful, but let's get strong in our down dog, pushing the ground away, and then lift your left leg back behind you. Step your left foot forward near your left thumb and lower your back knee down onto your mat. Now first, I trotted in my block. You might do the same underneath my right hand. And you can let your left toes turn out just a little bit and experiment with that left thigh falling out to the side. If that's not working for you, just keeping the foot flat is brilliant. It's perfect. I've got my padding underneath my right knee and then left arm to the sky as we twist here. And you'll make it your own. Every inhale, we grow a little bit longer. Every exhale, we encourage our twist. Start to reach back and kick yourself in the butt with your right heel. Maybe you find it, maybe you don't, but it gives you more sensation, I'm thinking, in the front of your right hip. And again, you're paying attention to your left knee. If you get feedback that it doesn't want to be falling out to the side, keep it straight to the sky. Two more moments here. Gently let go of your back foot. Turn your left toes to face forward. Trot your blocks in so that it's helpful. Straighten your left leg. Curl the toes back. Lengthen through your spine. We've got a little bit of flexion and extension work happening at the hip, and definitely a sweet hamstring stretch in the mix at the same time. Now let's bend our left knee, move our blocks off to the side, and make our way to down dog. From our down dog, lift your right leg behind you. This time, step it through for single pigeon, and I will help you design it. I still have my folded blanket. You might want to do the same. I'm going to take one of my blocks and place it underneath my right sit bone. Now this looks a little bit like our tree pose leg, right? Right knee out to the side a little bit. It's a bit like some of us did with the knee falling out to the side. And then instead of being super side saddle this way, we're looking to be a little bit more hip bones focused forward. But that's going to be different in all of our bodies also. You might prefer to be upright. If none of this is working, you can lie on your back, put ankle across thigh, and thread the needle for reclining pigeon. But let's pause and breathe in whichever pigeon, pick a pigeon, and take a meditation moment. Last 3 moments here together. And then let's slowly make our way to down dog. So maybe leaning to your right helps you to free yourself off your props and into down dog, and then just move that block that you were using or book that you were using. Lift your left leg behind you, and this time step it maybe into your single pigeon, or if you're lying on your back, just switch sides of the ankle on top of the thigh and the threading of the needle. And then instead of leaning way over to the left, if we can help it, we'll think about centering and pointing our hips a little bit forward. But again, you're paying attention to the feedback of your left knee, what your body's telling you. You're the expert. I am just the guide. And then let's have our silent meditation here. It might be beneficial to lean to your left a little bit to free yourself off of your prop and into down dog just for a moment, just so we can scoot all of our props out of the way. Then bring your knees to your mat or to your padding and find your way onto your back. If you would rather sit cross-legged and end the practice with a cross-legged seated meditation, great. If you would like to do our Shavasana final meditation, we'll make our way lying on our back. Maybe you keep your knees bent, knees falling in on each other. If you're comfortable, close your eyes. If it feels good, straighten one leg and then the other. And let's just pause to rest and digest. You're welcome to stay here in Shavasana, final meditation, as long as you'd like. If you're ready, let's wiggle our fingers and toes. Bring our knees into our chest and roll to either side. Come up to a comfortable seat. Maybe we join our friends who chose to sit in a cross-legged meditation. Just take a second. Grateful that we have this wonderful way of moving and finding stillness. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to us doing